Hey everybody, welcome to the channel, True Crime Stories. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like button and subscribe so you can hear more. Thanks for stopping by. I just finished a video about Denise Doe, who went missing in California, and a couple of years after she went missing, I think it was in 1982, the body of a young woman was found in a cemetery in New Jersey. And for some reason, authorities at that time believed this to be Denise Doe. They did dental records, and they couldn't rule it out. They said it was inconclusive. It's possible that the two girls were so similar that they wanted it to be her, and they wanted to give this girl a name so badly that they just said this is Denise Doe from California. But I'm going to talk a little bit about this girl. It turned out this was not Denise Doe. For a long time, this girl was just Princess Doe. She was unknown. But later, she was determined to be Dawn Rita Olinick. Previously known as Princess Doe, Dawn Olinick was an American teenager from Bohemia, New York. She was found murdered in Cedar Ridge Cemetery in Blairstown Township, New Jersey on July 15, 1982. Her face had been bludgeoned beyond recognition. Now, Olinick was publicly identified on the 40th anniversary of her discovery. Her body was buried in the Cedar Ridge Cemetery not too far from where she was discovered. Now, she was thought to have been murdered in July. This was the last time she was seen, July 15th, 1982. Her remains were exhumed in 1999 so that samples could be collected from her leg for DNA testing. She was reburied in the same grave. Olinick had become known as Princess Doe. This was the nickname given to her by Lieutenant Eric Kranz of the Blairstown Police Department. So, some details about her case. On the morning of July 15, 1982, a gravedigger named George Kaz discovered the body of Olinick in the rear part of the Cedar Ridge Cemetery in Blairstown, New Jersey. The body was found lying on its back just over a steep embankment that leads to a creek below. The victim's face had been beaten beyond recognition. It was yet to be determined what type of object was used to kill her. Her body was badly decomposed. Her body was clad in a short red-sleeved shirt and a peasant-style skirt. This was found laying on top of her legs. She was not wearing any undergarments, but there was no conclusive evidence of a sexual assault. It was hard to determine if this was true or not because of the decomposition of her body. A golden cross necklace was tangled in her hair, and she had 2 earrings in her left ear. She was wearing red nail polish on her right hand. She had no tattoos and no birthmark, no, distinct marks on her body. Toxicology did not reveal any trace of drugs, and it was very hot and humid at the time, so decomposition was rapid. Now, an examination of the girl indicated that she had attempted to fight back and defend herself. There was trauma to her hands and arms. Now, this brings us back to Diane Janice Dye. For many years, Princess Doe was thought to be Diane Dye, a missing teenager from San Jose, California, who vanished in July of 1979. The theory by several law enforcement officials in the state of New Jersey went so far as to hold a press conference identifying Diane Dye as Princess Doe. However, Lieutenant Eric Krantz, who was the lead investigator, maintained that this was not the same girl. And the family of Diane Dye also shared in his belief that this was not Diane. Now, investigators in California were very upset about this because they said, now that New Jersey has said this is Diane Dye, the case for Diane Dye was closed. So they thought nobody's going to be looking for her. If another Jane Doe is discovered, they're not going to be looking at Denise Dye's, they're not going to be looking for DNA from her family. They're not going to be trying to find out what happened to Denise. And they said this was just not her, and they would not agree to say that it was. In 2003, Princess Doe's DNA was compared with a DNA sample from Diane's mother, and it was determined that Princess Doe was not Diane Dye. They put together a mannequin with the clothing that she was wearing in the Cedar Ridge Cemetery. They brought her back to life as detectives dressed a plastic mannequin replica in the original clothing that she was wearing. Now, these clothes that she was wearing were not in bad, decomposed condition. And the woman claims that she saw this girl wearing this skirt because she said it stood out to her because it had a peacock design on it. And it was a very distinctive skirt. And this is the skirt that the girl was found wearing. And that was only 2 days after this woman and her daughter saw her shopping in this store. After images of the girl's clothing were printed in a local newspaper, a witness named Anne-Marie Latimer reported to officials that she had seen this young girl wearing that same skirt. Latimer stated that she was shopping with her daughter at a supermarket on July 13, 1982. They observed the girl buying cigarettes at this market. This was just 2 days before the body was found. She was able to describe the clothing because she said the blouse and the skirt were like a gypsy or peasant type blouse and skirt, and it just kind of stood out to her. And she remembered also thinking this girl looked to be around 13 to her. She thought this was a very young girl to be purchasing cigarettes, so she remembered that very much. Now, her body, Rita Olinick, Princess Doe's body, was once again re-exhumed in November of 2020. Using a grant, they used genetic genealogy DNA testing. In 2012, a sample of her hair and teeth were examined. Now, in May of 2021, investigators were notified by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children after they had gotten samples of Princess Doe's body using this grant. And in June of 2021, they were able to get a DNA profile. They were given DNA samples by Robert Olinick Jr., this was Don's brother, and also her sister. And they were able to make the identity. On April the 29th, 2022, she was identified as Dawn Rita Olinick. Now, Dawn was living with her mom and her sister in Bohemia on Long Island. Her parents had divorced, And her brother said she left home in 1982 around June. She had some problems apparently because she and her mother were not getting along. According to her brother, she left because I guess she and the mom had gotten into some type of argument, or she was doing something the mom didn't approve of, and she left home, and this was the last time that they ever saw her. Now we get to Arthur and Donna Kinlaw. In 1999, evidence came to light that Arthur and Donna Kinlaw may have been involved in Princess Doe's murder. Donna was arrested in California for attempting to commit welfare fraud. She was using someone else's identity, and this was traced to Long Island, New York. When the police questioned her, she gave them details about the murder of a woman named Linda, and the testimony put her and Arthur Kinlaw behind bars. Donna gave details about 2 murders she said Arthur had committed. After Arthur was faced with a death sentence, Donna told authorities that he had killed another woman in early 1982. She also said that in 1982 her husband brought home a young teenage girl. He left home with the girl and returned without her. She told police that she was with Arthur in the cemetery and witnessed him commit this murder. And then when he returned home, she said he disposed of the clothing that he had been wearing, he cleaned out his vehicle, and he threatened Donna that if she ever told anybody, he would kill her as well. However, Donna Kinlaw was interviewed by a forensic artist, and she helped to create a sketch of the girl she claimed that Arthur had brought home. Now, Arthur Kinlaw was incarcerated for 2 counts of second-degree murder. There have been other suspects in the murder of Princess Doe, or Rita Olinick, as she was identified as in 2022. This Arthur Kinlaw was believed to have been some type of pimp, or he wanted to be a pimp. And I don't know how he came into contact with Dawn. I don't know if it was a simple case of he just saw this girl and grabbed her, or if they took her in, him and this Donna. Maybe they offered her a place to stay. He was trying to get, according to Donna, his wife, he was trying to get this Dawn, this girl, into prostitution, and she would not agree to do that. And this is the reason she claims that he killed her. He wanted to pimp her out, and she didn't want anything to do with that. Arthur Kinlaw was charged with her homicide, and he did later confess. It was believed that she was picked up and driven to New Jersey, where he planned to force her into prostitution, and when she fought against him and she was trying to run away from him, he killed her. This is the belief. So now this Donna Kinlaw, who was the wife of Arthur Kinlaw, says that she was an abused woman and that she was afraid of this man, that he threatened to kill her if she told anybody about Dawn. She says he was vicious, that she knew he had killed another woman, and she was afraid. She was afraid to try to stand up to him and to try to get away from him, according to her. The police believe that she may have been a willing participant in this to make money, because she was trying to commit welfare fraud in California, and this is how she was linked back to New Jersey and New York, and this is when she told the story of Dawn. Of course, she didn't know Dawn's name. She says all she knew about her was that she was a young girl that her husband had brought home. She doesn't say how long. This article doesn't say how long Dawn supposedly was with them.
Before I move on into the next part of this story, I would just like to remind everybody, if you haven't already, to please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
Now, this has to bring us back to another story around this Arthur Kinlaw.
But now about Linda, this unknown person named Linda. The story of the unknown woman, only known as Linda. Her body was found in the East River, and she was also, this Donna also told that her husband had tried to force this woman into prostitution, and she also not only refused but told him that she would go to the police. And so he beat her to death and put her and threw her body in the river. This Donna Kinlaw told that they had met her at a bar called the Blackberry Jam Club. Her body was discovered in the East River, and when she was pulled from the water, she had short black hair. She was wearing ripped jeans and a blouse. She had been bludgeoned, and her hands had been tied behind her back with a part of her blouse that had been torn, and part of the blouse was stuffed into her mouth and down her throat.
The unidentified victim, known as Linda, was a teenager. She was murdered in April of 1984. Her body was found wrapped in an old shower curtain and had been weighed down with concrete blocks. Now, Donna Kinlaw confessed to witnessing the murder, and Arthur Kinlaw was convicted for this murder in 2000. He was given 20 years in prison for this woman's murder. It was believed that she also had denied Arthur Kinlaw's attempts to put her into sex trafficking.
Now, Arthur and Donna Kinlaw were charged with her murder, and this woman was never identified.
She was between the ages of 18 and 25. She was a white female, 5'4", 130 pounds. In 1998, a California couple, Arthur and Donna Kinlaw, were charged in her murder. According to the evidence, which included Donna's testimony, police found the Kinlaws, who were running a sex prostitution ring, were involved in robbery, forgery, burglary, and welfare fraud in 7 states.
Now, about Arthur and Donna Kinlaw, after this woman was found, they left New York and went to Florida, and they traveled all around the United States. They had been together for 20 years, and it was said that they had 9 children together. And they had committed welfare fraud in many different states around the country. And it's possible that there are many other victims of this Arthur Kinlaw and Donna Kinlaw.
From the Vivid Faces of the Vanished on Facebook. Landlord admitted to committing murder, but his victim still has no name. Now, the murder took place in the summer of 1983. In December of 1999, Arthur Kinlaw, a convicted pimp, was facing trial for homicide. He confessed to murdering someone who was renting a room from him and his wife in New York. As part of his plea deal, he admitted that he had killed the woman following an argument over unpaid rent. But according to his wife, Kinlaw struck the woman with a frying pan and stabbed her repeatedly. He then broke her legs and folded her up into a makeshift grave behind the house. The burial site was later covered with cement and turned into a patio. Authorities excavated the property and found the skeletal remains of a woman who was heavy set. She was wearing rosary beads and a homemade knit dress. She had a metal rod in her thigh that indicated she had had surgery on her leg. She was determined to be between the ages of 25 and 45. She was about 5'7" tall and weighed about 300 pounds. She may have been black or Hispanic. Neighbors later recalled seeing the woman in the early 1980s, and they said that she sometimes used a cane and sometimes she used a walker, and that they believed they had seen her and that she wore glasses. Now, the FBI produced a forensic sketch, and they searched hospital records, surgical registries, churches, Social Security files, missing persons databases, but no match was ever made of her, and no one ever came forward. The woman was known only as Marie, and this is the name that Donna Kinlaw gave the police. They said they never knew her last name. They never really knew her other than Marie. To this day, according to this article, she still has not been identified. I don't know if they were able, I'm sure they were able to get DNA from her body, and hopefully somewhere out there. I mean, you would think that the surgery alone, having put a metal rod in this woman's leg, there would have been a record of that.
Was supposed to be renting a room from them. I think that they took advantage of people who were disabled. Maybe there may be victims out there of theirs that they took advantage of who were getting some type of public assistance, and they were, forcing them to sign over their money. They were committing welfare fraud and prostitution, and now we know that they were committing murder. In some of the comments that I read, it was said that this Marie resembled Arthur Kinlaw, and some people wondered if maybe she was a family member of his. A couple of other comments that I read say it's possible that she was an undocumented Hispanic person, and that maybe this was why they could find no trace of her, that they could find no trace of this surgery having been performed, because maybe it had been performed in another country. And no one in the neighborhood, no one at any of the local churches or anyone came forward to claim to know who this woman could have been.
According to this post, this woman has still not been identified. On December the 21st, 1999, in Bellport, New York, the skeletal remains of a woman were found buried beneath the Michigan Avenue home of Arthur and Donna Kinlaw, a couple who ran a prostitution ring and were involved in robbery, forgery, and welfare fraud. According to Donna's testimony, they had taken this woman into their home, and after she got behind on the rent, there was an argument between her and Arthur where he killed her, and he buried her in a makeshift grave, and he was convicted to life in prison for second-degree homicide on 2 counts, one for Linda and one for Marie. If anyone might recognize this woman, or recognize her description of being around 300 pounds, black or Hispanic, 5'7", having had surgery on her leg, possibly wore glasses, and used a cane and a walker to get around, in the vicinity of Michigan Avenue in Bellport, Suffolk County, New York, at 631-852-6396 is the number to call if anyone could identify this woman, possibly. Went to prison for killing this unidentified woman known only as Linda, and this other unidentified woman known only as Marie. They believe that Marie had been dead for up to 17 years when her body was found, and she had also been beaten to death. And she had a gold-colored metal cross with dark beads, which could have been a rosary. Neighborhood churches know of a woman who attended church or came to Mass who fit that description, who would have stood out because of her size because of the fact that she used a walker and had surgery on her leg. It's hard to believe that no one would remember someone like that.
Now, there was one other victim that was mentioned in the list of victims of this man, Arthur Kinlaw. Christine Cosma. The only thing I could really find about her was just a very small video clip on YouTube that I found about her. I really searched, I couldn't find any details. If anyone out there should happen across a link about her, please feel free to share it in the comments. Christine Cosma was 19 years old when she was found murdered in October 1982 in the Overton Preserve in New Jersey. Now, it was said that Christine was from Bay Shore, Long Island in New York, and she was said to have become addicted to drugs and had gotten into the sex work to support her habit, to support herself. Now, it was also said that Arthur Kinlaw had tried to force her to come to work for him, but she refused. He then shot her and hid her body in this preserve, which is said to be like 450 acres of like wildlife, hiking trails, walking trails, and that type of place. When he was asked about her, he confessed to her murder, and he just matter-of-factly said that he shot her. Now, one thing I want to throw in here is my own 2 cents, my own thoughts on this. This makes 3 different women that this Donna Kinlaw and her husband, one or the other, have said the reason that they killed them was because they refused to give in and become sex workers for him. So I just wonder if that was really the reason that they killed these women. I wonder if maybe they were trying to lure them into some type of living arrangement like they had this other woman, this Marie, and maybe try to get them to move in with them and to set them up some type of, welfare fraud, something of that nature. Or, it could have been the sex work. Maybe that was the reason, but it's just very strange that this was 3 different women who he, was said that this was the reason that he killed them. And I just find that very odd. Not, that doesn't happen or hasn't happened in life, but it's just very strange. And because these people were known to be commit welfare fraud and different types of fraud, maybe this was something that they were trying to do. I've heard stories about stuff like this where they've put life insurance on people and then killed them. And maybe that was what happened with this Marie. I wonder if they might have set her up a life insurance policy and killed her just to, collect on that. But I'll get back to the original story of Dawn Olinick.
Dawn Olinick was born August 5th, 1964. She went missing in July of 1982. Forensic anthropologists determined that the victim was not pregnant and had never given birth and was most likely between the ages of 14 and 18. Lieutenant Stephen Spires, who was working the case, stated that Kinlaw claimed responsibility for her death, but I have no physical evidence to confirm that. I have no way of connecting the dots. Spires also reported that he doubted the confession because the Kinlaws could not provide a name. Well, I wouldn't say that that's necessarily a reason to exclude him, because this girl may not have wanted them to know her name. She may have given them a fake name, or she may not have told them a name at all. Apart from the Kinlaws, several other suspects have been considered in this case. Following the identification of Princess Doe as Dawn Olinick, Arthur Kinlaw was reconsidered a suspect and later charged with her murder. According to the New York Times, Dawn Olinick was a high school junior in Bohemia, New York. Somewhere along the line, she crossed paths with Arthur Kinlaw, who tried to force the 17-year-old into becoming a sex worker. When she refused, the prosecutor wrote in their statement, he drove her to New Jersey where he killed her. At the press conference, Olinick's surviving relatives sat with a photo of her pinned to their lapels. One of them, a cousin of Olinick, who was only 13 at the time she went missing, offered a statement on behalf of the family. "We miss her dearly," Scott Hassler said. "On behalf of the family, we'd really like to thank Blairstown Police Department, New Jersey State Troopers, Warren and Union County for their unrelenting time they put into this case. For over 40 years, the people have been protective of Princess Doe. If the New Jersey State Police had not tried connecting Diane's case to Princess Doe's, Diane's case might be one of the many forgotten missing persons." So when I said earlier that the San Jose Police Department and the people in the area who were searching for this girl would have stopped searching because the New Jersey police claimed that she was the body that they had found, they weren't really searching for her at all at that point. The police were not looking for her as a missing child. You know, if they were looking for her at all, had classified her as a runaway and pretty much just kind of dropped the ball, as this writer says.
So as of right now, that was really all I could find about Dawn. There was quite a few details about what was believed to have happened to her. And this Arthur Kinlaw is said to have confessed to killing her, even though there was one or two detectives who didn't really quite believe this confession. Either way, they haven't found anything else or any other person that they've been able to find any evidence of having killed her or these other women either. Thanks for watching.